Welcome to Heart of Poland. I am with the founder of the From the Depths Foundation, Jonny Daniels. Hello, Jonny.
Hi there, nice to see you.
Jonny, I think you've only slept about, 5 hours a night for the last 3 weeks since the war in Ukraine began, or the Russian aggression in Ukraine began. You have been working flat out. I've known a lot of people who've been working flat out. I think, dudes, you actually win. Let's just get down to business. What on earth have you been doing over the last 3 weeks? Because it's phenomenal.
Look, I mean, honestly, it's been probably the most difficult few weeks of my life in terms of human stories. You know, my foundation deals with Holocaust Memory Memorial, so we're dealing with these things and terrible stories on a daily basis. But to see this in today's day and age, and to see the people coming out and the people stuck inside, and the real heart-wrenching elements of what these people are having to live through, is something that is almost, you know, it's almost too much to deal with. Thankfully, we were able to help, and being in that process of being able to help these people and be of service helps me to deal with, you know, the feeling of what on earth is going on. At least I'm able to be of service.
Yeah. Now, as someone who's spent so much time working with Holocaust survivors and the righteous amongst the nations, have you felt like this conflict has now actually shown you the real face of war from the point of view of civilians and women and children and that kind of thing? You actually have some military experience yourself. Yeah,
well, look, I mean, the face of war is always ugly. And especially now, when it's just so pointless. And we all know it's pointless. And everybody's watching really a war raged by one man turn into something that has displaced so many people and broken families and ripped just huge cities apart. And this, I think, has given us the understanding of what truly is going on here. In terms of dealing with the righteous, I think that those for me have been my shining light. You know, we support, and I've supported for years, the last living heroes who risked their lives to save my Jewish brothers and sisters during the war. And as soon as this started, we did everything to help the last 17 living righteous in Ukraine. And over the last few weeks, the situation's got so bad that it went from a point at the beginning of, okay, we're sending them packages and this and that, to last week literally having to bribe and send huge amounts of money, really a lot of money, to get bread for them. Bread, you know, a basic staple of anybody's diet. None of them wanted to leave. They're all in their 90s, they're all there. And I can tell you that actually now, I'm literally coming from meeting 2 families of righteous amongst the nations who have escaped, 2 families of obviously women and children. And I just welcomed them here in Warsaw. One came in, well, they both came in from different cities. One family from Kharkov, a city bombed to smithereens. And tomorrow, both of these families are going to be moving to Israel. And it's kind of an insane situation in which these families risked their lives 80 years ago to save Jews. And now we're able to take them and give them a new life in the state of Israel. And it's a very powerful thing, but it doesn't stop the huge level of human tragedy. I mean, just everywhere you look. Today, I went shopping with a 95-year-old man, a 95-year-old Holocaust survivor. This man lost family in Babi Yar, the mass killing that took place in Kiev. He lost family there. He escaped at 16 years old. He was a refugee at 16, and now he's a refugee once again. He was 95 years old. I spoke to him today, and he arrived in Warsaw by himself. He left 10 days ago, and he's not 100% sure how he got here. He communicates okay, but he's 95 years old, and he just turns up. And, you know, and he arrived, and amazing old man, still like wearing a jacket, right? Like a suit jacket, like an absolute legend, like wearing a suit jacket. But you know, he's 95 and he's been walking and traveling and somehow getting around for 10 days. I just took him and I was like, Dawaj, my Russian's terrible. It was enough, come on. Put him in my car. I went straight to the mall and we did a huge shop for him. I bought him new clothes, I bought him new shoes, just to enable him to at least feel nice. He's staying in a hotel now. So, you know, at least we're able to help even in a little way. But the tragedy of someone, and I said to him, how do you feel? Right, you've lost everything, you know? And he said, well, look, it's just things. But it's things that mean a lot for him.
Yeah, because I mean, the chances
that pictures.
He's not going to go back to that house anytime soon, that's for sure.
Look, the way it's looking right now is that anybody who's come out probably won't be able to go back for quite a long time, if ever, right? We don't know how this war ends, if it ends. We don't know what the situation will be. The way it's looking right now, if they've come from certain cities, there's been nothing left to go back to. All of his memories in a house, all gone. And I said, how do you feel? And he said, they're just things, right? At least I'm alive. and you look around and it's just story after story of heartbreak after heartbreak, and we can't sit idly by as humans and not do what we need to help them. But also we need to do it in a smart way, right? You know, and I think for me, the main thing about the last 3 weeks in terms of how to help is that you must allow and keep a level of dignity for these people. We have to give in a dignified way. Now, you know, the initial thought is give them clothing, right? Because someone's coming with a little backpack with nothing inside, but you give them your dirty clothes, even if they're clean or secondhand. These are people who've been through so much. They don't need to start rummaging through black bags, right, to pull out a shirt, check the size. We can give it in a dignified way. Clothes are so cheap today, right? So literally straight from the beginning, we took a few points around the city here in Warsaw. We went and did shopping. I go to, like, every morning I start the day at, like, big shops. I literally go to the sales rack and just wipe the whole rack. They know me already in the shops, and they're like literally
that
following
part
me
must be a bit enjoyable. Like,
I
you must
do
take
quite
a
like
secret.
it. I do quite like it. I do quite like it. I've got 2 daughters. I grew up with sisters. I don't mind shopping. It's actually quite fun for me. And there's a bit of like this element of being able to do something like that is quite fun. But I just walk into shops and I just take a whole rack and I'm like, give me everything. You know, we were in a certain shop the other day, and they hid the sales rack for me. They knew I'm coming, and they had these great jumpers that were 13 zloty a jumper, which is nothing. So they hid the whole thing and hid boxes in the back. I came and I literally bought 400 jumpers. And like now, I'm seeing like people walking around the streets in Warsaw wearing the jumpers I bought.
So where can we
feeling.
go? Because you've got this shop. Talk about the shop itself. Where is the shop and how can people get to it?
People can reach out to me directly on Instagram and on other social medias, Facebook, whatever, and we will either...
What's the best, what do they type to get there?
Jonny Daniels, just my name, or From the Depths, and, you know, reach out to me, and whoever needs, we're giving. Actually, you reached out just last week with somebody. She messaged me and I was messaging with this girl. Again, 35 years old. She's come here all alone with absolutely nothing. And I start messaging her, and you
told me it was quite a sad story. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I mean, it just broke my heart, because this is a 35-year-old girl, right? She was a manager of like a kind of restaurant in Kiev. And she speaks very basic English, but perfect Ukrainian and Russian. And she's now here. What on earth is she going to do? Like, what's she going to work as? Right? Who's hiring, who needs Ukrainian speakers? All her money, she brought cash with her, Ukrainian currency. It's worthless. Nobody wants it. No one will take Ukrainian currency today. You know, her money's in a Ukrainian bank. Who knows how long that stays? So you end up with this situation where people are just truly stuck. Everything they've worked for has disappeared. Her whole career in restaurants and all of this, what's she going to do right now? And that was really kind of sad. And she messaged me, and it was like 7 buses to get to one of our locations, or a 10-minute drive for me. So I said, you know, wait, I'll bring it to you this evening. In my car outside here, I've got another like 5 packages with the same situation. People have reached out. I found out where they were. It's much easier for me just to do a circuit at nighttime, which I do. There's no traffic at like 11 o'clock at night. People are up anyway. We just go, they give me their sizes, I do the shopping for them, and we provide them with what they need. And that element of giving, but also giving new clothing, is so dignified, and it gives people a chance at least to feel fresh and proud and happy with what's going on, as much as they can be within this just horrendous scenario. But it's story after story, and it's heartbreak after heartbreak. And these are the points where really we have to look at ourselves and say, well, what more could we be doing? Because it's impossible, right? Like, it's impossible to, we're not all going to have people in our houses. And also we need to think about this in the long term.
Yep.
Because this isn't ending soon. And it's not realistic that people can live in our homes for years. It doesn't work like that. So, you know, governments have to think better what they're doing. And as civil society, we really have to step up and give as much assistance as we can.
What are you going to turn down the intensity on what you're doing? Because, dude, I said to you, we were messaging each other. I'm like, oh, Jonny, you should go to the gym. And you're like, no, dude. Like, even if I had the time, which I don't, I can't do it. I've got to do this. This is my mission right now. But this must come at a personal cost to you in terms of, like, you must be exhausted.
I'm a little bit tired, but again, like, honestly, what is that? Like, you know, it's not. I'm sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night. I can make do on that. Like, it's not. I feel fine. I just don't have time for much other stuff.
Yeah.
But that's also okay, because look, every time I think to myself for a second, maybe I need to, you know, oh, stop for half an hour or do this. You just think of these poor people. that don't have that luxury. And it's like, well, hold on a second. Honestly, it's also not, it's not a situation that there's not that many people, you know, English speakers like you and I here in Warsaw who can communicate with a broader audience and who know how to tell these stories. So the problem is that if I'm not doing this, it's kind of not actually going to happen. It's not like I'll stop and someone else will go in my place. That doesn't work. We both know that. So this is what sort of pushes me to carry on. And you know, my kids are in Israel. We're coming up to the Jewish festival of Purim, which is just this week. They're super upset I won't be there. But I spoke to them on the phone and I said, you know what? Your grandkids will learn about this war in school. And they'll say, hey, Grandma, what was that war like? You'll say, well, I was in school. I didn't really know much about it. But my dad, your great-grandpa, he did something amazing. And this is the inspiration. And this is also why I do it, to show my kids that during times like this, we can make a difference. And we are making a difference. Even if it's just through one person. You know, we say in the Jewish tractate that saving one person is like saving the whole world.
Yeah, which is a very powerful, powerful statement.
Yeah, and again, you know, giving someone shelter and a bit of clothing isn't saving anybody's life. There's no comparison. But it enables you to sort of push them up a little bit. And you don't know how that will then transform into helping others. And, you know, like I said, it truly is non-stop.
Now, obviously, you're based in Poland, but you travel extensively all around the world. I never seem to know where you are the whole time. Not even sure you do.
Yeah.
There've been lots of accusations about racism at the Polish border, and I think the story of how Poles have helped Ukrainians isn't particularly well understood in Western media. Frankly, I haven't got enough time to check out, but that's what people keep telling me.
Right.
What does it look like from your point of view? What's been the Polish welcome for these Ukrainian refugees?
Well, look, I mean, there's no doubt that there's been racism. There's no doubt that there's been racism on the Ukrainian side and also on the Polish side. And it is a concern. It's war. And in war, bad things happen. And there have been cases. I've been at the border quite a few times. I've seen people coming in, students from Middle Eastern countries and so on and so forth. And there are problems. Stuff has happened. And it's not great. But these are really minute issues. And you know, we can't ignore that stuff does happen. There's idiots everywhere in every society. You know, bad stuff's always going to happen. It just is. We have to be honest about it. The second we start saying nothing bad has happened, we do a disservice to everything else. Yes, bad stuff has happened, but honestly, the example of the Polish people has been something that has really shocked the world. Not that people didn't think highly of Poles, they did. Poles really, people do think highly of Polish people. But I've got to tell you, every single foreign person, dignitary, parliamentarian, TV personality, reporters who have been here, and I've met a huge amount of them, have been absolutely mind-blown at the unbelievable hospitality of the Polish people, which is something that really there's a lot to be proud of. Because if you look around the world, there isn't that anywhere else. I was flying one family to Israel this week, or last week, a mother and 2 kids. And it's impossible to get direct flights almost anywhere because just a mass of people moving. And I found her a flight via the UK. We booked the ticket, she was so happy, she was staying at a friend's house. It was a very emotional experience taking her to the airport. We got in line, the front of British Airways, and they said, no, you can't fly. I said, it's a transit. They're not, they're entering the airport.
Via Heathrow, yeah.
Via Heathrow,
yeah.
and
So
carry on.
What's the problem?
No, Ukrainians can't enter the UK, right? And honestly, I was ashamed to be British at that point. Ashamed. And it's just unbelievable. It's not like this war's just started. It's been going for 3 weeks already. Countries really should get themselves in order and figure out what on earth we all do as society to help these people. Because it's just truly shameful. But the flip side of that, the Poles, is every other car outside is Ukrainian here in Warsaw, right? Shops are full, people are walking. You hear Ukrainian in the streets more than you hear Polish
at the moment,
places.
yeah.
It's truly mind-blowing. In Warsaw alone, 260,000 people have decided to stay here. That's 1/8 of the city. Imagine any city in the world increasing its population by 1/8 in 2 weeks. It's unheard of. Out of all the 1.6 million Ukrainians who have entered Poland, 60% are staying here. And that's not because they don't necessarily have anywhere else to go. It's because the Polish population has been so hospitable. I don't think I know any Polish family who's not had a Ukrainian in their home or helped. Today I needed to bring the families of the righteous from Poznan. another one from Lublin. It was enough just on my Instagram.
Quite long distances. Like,
Oh, yeah.
It's
Like
not 30 minutes driving.
No, one was from Orla. It was like a 4-hour drive, round trip, right? Someone's going to go back. Within minutes, I was inundated with requests. And the guy who brought them from Orla, next to Poznan, I came with him here, and he had a tear in his eye, and he said, "Thank you for allowing me to help." And this, I think, has been so remarkable about what we've seen with Poles, is that the feeling has been, "Thank you for allowing me to help." And that's something amazing. Even this T-shirt I'm wearing by 4F, a proud Polish company.
Polish company, yeah.
Amazing Polish company. Igor Kaya, the owner, is a great friend of mine. As soon as the war started, I said, "Igor, get a T-shirt out straight away. Something positive about Ukraine. Give the proceeds. People will want to buy it." They were sold out in minutes. I literally had to beg him for a T-shirt. I wasn't able to get to the shop quick enough. I was like, "Igor, please." It's like, "All right, it's your idea. I'll send you a T-shirt. Just one though. We've got none left."
Yeah.
So but I'm happy.
A lot of people internationally from the UK and US, you've got a lot of US connections as well, been reaching out to me saying, "What should I do? I've got toys and books I'd like to send and clothes." And I've said to them, I just don't think we need any of those things right now. You can contribute to a charity and a foundation you talked about, From the Depths, the foundation you run. What would be your advice to anyone from the US and UK if they wanted to help, unfortunately because of the still complicated UK visa rules, it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon.
Right.
What can they do?
Well, it's interesting because I like you, I'm getting these phone calls literally so many times every single day. People are watching, people want to help. The problem is that honestly, again, sending used clothes, don't do it. There's mounds of used clothes just literally sitting on the border.
You've seen them, haven't you?
Oh yeah, you probably have as well.
Yeah.
Just mounds of used clothes, and it's not getting where it's supposed to get to. There are, but even more than that, it's to send stuff from other countries costs money, right? People wanted to send toys from the UK. Just the shipping. And now with all the headache with outside of the EU, you're going to get customs import charges. It will cost you more money to send and take it from customs than it would be to give to a Polish charity or a charity working on the ground in Poland to go and buy it themselves. Like I told you, I'm buying jumpers at 13 zloty a jumper.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't buy it that cheap in England even if you wanted wholesale. Like Poland's cheap if you know where to go, like anywhere, right? So you have to work with charities on ground that know what they're doing, and to really get the best of your buck. Now, honestly, money just is the best way of supporting now. And people want to come and help. And I always ask them, do you speak Russian? No. Do you speak Ukrainian? No. Do you speak Polish? No. I'm like, well, honestly, don't come. There's not enough hotel rooms. There's not enough hostel rooms. You're taking place of someone who actually needs it. Don't come. Yeah. And it's quite a difficult thing to say to people. But especially when they have this need to come and do something. You see tons of people coming in and running to the border, and at the end of the day, there's nothing they can offer to help. The best thing you can do is support charities on ground, and there are really amazing charities. My charity is one of them, but there are many others doing really great things, and it's not difficult to find them. And just support them financially, share their stuff, right? Share their stories, let people see, let people read, and let people see the true face of what's going on. It's quite easy to watch this from abroad. It's a war, it's sad. But if I don't like it, I'm just going to change the channel.
What happens when the world's attention moves on? As you know a fair bit about PR. You know that this story is live and current, but you can probably see the interest dipping a little bit in international
definitely, it already is.
Yep, and the world's attention is going to keep on disappearing away. In 2 weeks' time, it may not be on the front pages of the major websites. What happens then?
This has been my fear from the beginning, and I've spoken to you about this from the beginning, because we understand news cycles and the way it works. And it really isn't opening the news, right? For the last 3 weeks, this was the opening of the news: war in Ukraine, Russian aggression, the plight of the refugees. And already it's the middle of the news, and coming soon will be right at the end of the news as well. And this is when people really need to double down with their support to the right places. Because the issues don't go away. The heartache doesn't disappear. Refugees won't stop coming. In fact, if anything, we're seeing the more difficult refugees will come in terms of people with more difficult problems. Initially, you'd run away if you had somewhere to run to. So a lot of the people who came out would have had families in Poland, in Germany, in Sweden, in the UK, in Israel, wherever it may be, so they'd run to them. But people, then they were like, well, I'm going to wait this out because I don't know where I'm going to go, right? I don't want to, end up sleeping in a train station. The problem is, as this war progresses and as the Russian aggression just becomes more severe and more awful, more people will start to run. And when that happens, it gets a lot more difficult in terms of housing these people and dealing with them and figuring out what to do. I just was with two families this evening, 2 women and 2 children. They're all deaf. And, I don't speak sign language,
Yeah.
right?
And I guess it's Ukrainian Sign Language as well, so it's
yeah, and
different
I
from
literally, like, I was, and I'm like, my heart's with you, and I'm like I'm like writing into Google Translate in English to Ukrainian, they're reading it, they're writing me back, the conversation it was just so hard.
Yeah.
And thank God, through good friends, I was able to find them a hotel in Krakow, unfortunately, so they've stayed in Warsaw for the night, then they'll move on to Krakow. But still, it was like, and, what are they going to do?
Yeah, that times several million. Now, you're a fairly well-known figure in Poland, Jonny. I don't think a lot of people know that you actually served in the Israeli Defence Force. Does the old ex-soldier in you just have a right old hankering to cross over and join up with Zelensky's boys? There must be a little part of you that's thinking, one last hurrah.
Well, I think quite a lot of people know that I was in the army. There's enough stuff about that online. Look, that's a different issue, and I'll tell you why. I'm not sure how this war ends, and whilst it's obviously an important fight, it's a tricky one and a very, very difficult one. And whilst obviously I'd like to help, and there's some things I won't talk about now, there's other ways that we can be of support, and being of support from the outside is almost just as much as well. Just this week, last week as well, we've had shipments going into Ukraine. On Wednesday, I'll be going down to the border, where I'll be actually accompanying stuff into the Ukraine to make sure that it gets to the right places. So we're helping how we can.
You've got a wee glint in your eye there, and you can interpret that as you wish. Jonny, there's your camera. I wonder if you'd like to give a message to the people of Poland, any Polish people watching this, reflecting on the last 3 weeks and everything you've experienced.
I think the most important thing is that we carry on. And I think that we need to carry on helping how we can and supporting how we can. We spoke about the fact that this is going to get more difficult, that people are going to become more hardened to the situation. This always happens. We need to keep our hearts open and our homes open and make sure that we do everything that we possibly can to continue the support, because it's not going to get any easier. It's just going to get worse, unfortunately. And truly, I'm honestly glad to be in Poland during this time and to see the incredible hospitality of the Polish people and the way that the Polish nation has really opened their hearts. And I just hope and pray that this continues. And really, I think that is probably my main message.
Thank you, Jonny Daniels, founder of the From the Depths Foundation, for joining us. And I'm very upset that you didn't wrangle me one of those T-shirts, but there's no real benefits to being his host other than meeting amazing people. So I hope you've enjoyed this special episode of Heart of Poland. You'll know that on the firstnews.com, which is the premier English language news site for news about Poland and the surrounding region, you'll find a host of other articles, not just about the ongoing conflict in Ukraine and Russian aggression in Ukraine, but also about Polish news, culture, history, and everything that's happening in the country of Poland. So make sure you share this episode, send it on to anyone you think might be interested, and make sure you go and check out other fascinating episodes of Heart of Poland. Throughout the course of almost 120 episodes now, we've talked to change makers, people making things happen, and I think Jonny was a very good example of someone making an immense amount of difference in his own way. You can also check out our sister program, What's Up Poland, which is a regular news show about Poland where we cover a lot of the things that are going on in Ukraine. I'll see you again for another episode